Okay, it works pretty well. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so grateful that you came here on this beautiful summer night where you could have been anywhere, but I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about the conversation we're about to have. But before I jump into it, I will just point out the emergency info. If there is any kind of fire or alarm, you can see the green escape sign over there, and there's one over there. Safety! And then washroom info is a little bit clunky. They are gendered, but we're not enforcing that in any way. I'll also do a land acknowledgement. Movement organizes on the unceded ancestral territory of many Indigenous peoples, including 10 First Nations all across this huge region: the Katzie, Kwantlen, Coquitlam, Matsqui, Musqueam, Kakite, Semiahmoo, Squamish, Tsawwassen, and Tsleil-Waututh. Transit has often been used to divide and marginalize First Nations. We can look at how the Highway 1 passes through Squamish land and just like divides it, or the railway that divided Squamish land in Kits Point. And so movement's really committed to kind of pushing to improve transportation to First Nations and to build links with First Nations. We've actually got a really exciting grant from the Real Estate Foundation to build some links in the Indigenous community, urban Indigenous community in Surrey. Anyway, something to look forward to. Here's a brief intro to movement. I'm going to give a bit of a spiel about movement before and after, a little infomercial part, but I promise it won't be too long. And I suspect a lot of you in this room already know a good amount of this, but movement started in late 2023, a year and a half ago. Where our focus is on pushing for faster, more abundant, more reliable transit, which just is freedom, right? It's freedom in this region to move around. We've seen other groups succeed at this kind of work in other regions, in New York and in Minneapolis and in Toronto, and we were thinking, why isn't there such a group here? And so that's why a few of us got together to start movement. One thing we also saw was that fights for better transit were getting lost. Some of you might remember the fight over the B line in West Vancouver, where the businesses mobilized a really successful campaign to defeat bus lanes and a better bus in their community. And so we kind of want to make sure that doesn't happen again. We've been really busy, and these pictures are just like a tiny subsection of all the stuff that we've been able to do. A lot of them are around the Save the Bus campaign, which was just a few months ago. TransLink had this huge fiscal cliff, a risk of cutting half the bus service in the region. And I'm really happy to say that they actually increased service by 5%, but it's a really temporary thing. And so we can expect another fight to come, in 2 years, but really the fight is now. We have to keep building now for better funding. And I'll just briefly say too that, for anyone that's wondering how movement is funded, it's a mix of grants, donations from individuals, donations from companies, donations from unions. Grants is by far the biggest part, and donations from individuals is maybe 5 or 10%, but we're really trying to grow that part because it means independence and the ability to just kind of fight whatever campaigns that riders are really pushing for. And I mentioned some of the groups in the US that we're comparing ourselves to. Move Minnesota in Minneapolis, they represent a region that has 1/8 the number of transit riders as we do just in Metro Vancouver. It's the whole state of Minnesota. And they do things like they've won $500 million in annual transit funding from the state legislature by working with a coalition of other groups and going to the state legislature and writing laws with politicians. So that's the kind of exciting stuff that we look up to. And if you look, the thing I highlighted on their financial statement is that their revenue is $1.9 million a year. And we're like, that's US dollars, so it's like closer to 2.5, and we're at like 0.4. But, the per rider funding that they have is enormous, and we're kind of trying to work our way up to that. In the US, there's a national transit rider organization called Transit Center, and they fund local groups, right? You can see the list here. That's just 1 year of the grants that they hand out to little local groups. And so we're actually starting to have conversations with the group in Toronto and the group in Edmonton and the group in Montreal to try and potentially build a national organization like that. So that's something that we can look forward to. And if you're interested in, I'm eager to talk about it, but I think that's the next step to both be able to lobby the federal government, but also to be able to fundraise bigger numbers and incubate create groups in places where currently they have no paid staff. Calgary, Edmonton, Kitchener, Victoria, these are all places where they have no paid staff, but they would be interested in growing to that point. Also, just kind of random news, but this summer we received a federal grant to hire 9 youth. We applied for 9 thinking, we'll get 2 or 3, but they gave us all 9. And so this summer, you might be seeing a lot of movement stuff on our feed this summer, and that's why. The people that are here on those grants, can you put up your hands? Sam, Nav, Urjan, and then 6 others. Thank you all for being here. They've been so incredible, and they all come with their own ideas and just deliver them. It's been such a dream. So, in transit, the things that get media coverage are shiny and flashy. High-speed rail, new subways, robo-taxis, whatever that is. We talk about should there be a SkyTrain or light rail or BRT? We have all these big modal battles, right? But I'm here to tell you that this isn't what matters the most. The main thing that matters is whether the transit is good. And that sounds crazy to say, but you'll always hear me screaming it from the rooftops, right? Just make transit good. Here in Canada, we have Via Rail, which runs intercity trains and gets huge federal subsidies. You may be surprised to hear this, but each trip on the Canadian, which is the train from Toronto to Vancouver, gets an average subsidy of $1,000. Every single person that rides the Canadian gets $1,000 per trip. But we also have this whole network of intercity buses run by some private and some subsidized companies, but most are completely unsubsidized, and nothing ever comes close to that $1,000. So what we end up with are 2 overlapping networks that just feel completely disconnected, and seemingly is an arbitrary distinction, right, between whose trip is subsidized and whose isn't. If you live in Nelson, you can access no subsidized intercity transit. But if you live in Prince George, you've got Via, BC Bus North, and Health Connections. And they all kind of overlap, too. So transit would present a much, much better alternative to driving if it were run in a holistic network. No arbitrary distinctions. If you want to get from Powell River to Chilliwack, you should be able to just go to a website, buy a ticket, go. Miles's videos don't yell at you in the way that I'm yelling at you. He just shows you the rider's experience. And when transit's good, you can tell. And when it sucks, you can tell. I meant to click to that slide later. There's no way from Powell River to Chilliwack. Miles has been online for a huge part of his life. He started a blog when he was 13, writing about transit in his native Boston. He was, as many of us are, obsessed with transit. And the oldest video on his YouTube dates to that era. And to his credit, all those old videos are still live on his channel, but no, I will not play them today. But you can find them. But he has since grown up and pursued a career in transit planning, something I can relate to. I did the same thing, but it hasn't let him stop. It hasn't stopped him from continuing to make bigger, more spectacular videos. And even the American levels of paid vacation aren't stopping him from doing unbelievable stuff and going on big trips like here, the reason he is here today. I want to play you a clip, one of his videos. Oh yeah, that's his website. I'm not keeping up with these slides. Some people know this. Some people know this. I'm going to just play the first 2 minutes of this 41-minute video. There's also a director's cut if you're on his Patreon, which I think is 3 hours long. Excellent. Worth every minute. Join his Patreon.
It's 5 a.m. in Glendora, California. Over the next 65 hours until my flight home to Boston leaves, I'll be attempting to ride every bus system in the LA region. And I've determined it's just barely possible to ride them all in one weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, before my flight home Sunday evening. Except it's starting to look like this challenge may have failed before it even started. All right, we've hit a snag already. But I can't find a sign anywhere, not on the street. I might have to walk to the next stop, which is decently far. but I saw a sign there. I see no sign of it. I hate that we've already hit a snag. We haven't even started yet. Okay, this very faded Metrolink shuttle stop is ours. Even though it's not actually a Metrolink shuttle.
I thought there was no way the first trip of the day on this commuter-oriented shuttle would be late, and yet here I was already going crazy.
Oh my god, why do I subject myself to these stupid tiny transit systems? I feel like my blood pressure is like, I'm losing life expectancy here in distress.
So you get the idea, right? Imagine being an LA resident who is dependent on these routes. You know, on paper, to a city councilor, this bus route may appear fine, but in practice, things like poor signage, poor reliability, make the service completely unusable. This stuff won't change if there isn't someone out there talking about it. And I think there's such a strong link between what Miles is doing on YouTube and what Movement is trying to do here in Vancouver. And so that's why it's my extreme pleasure to welcome to Vancouver, Miles Taylor. You have your St. John's card. Yeah. This is a thing from the internet where people put mics on their transit card. And so, Miles, do you want to tell them a little bit about your transit card?
So what's your take?
We're doing it this way.
What transit card is that, just for people's...
So yeah, this is the Metro bus card in St. John's, Newfoundland. In order to obtain it, I had to go to City Hall on a weekday, and I bought a 10-trip. What was that? Yeah. Well, I bought a 10-trip ticket for the cost of 9 trips.
Ooh, discount.
And I'm sure we'll talk about Metrobus later, but through a series of crash outs, I managed to take 9 trips. So I got my value, kind of. But the card cost $5.
Oh my God. Amazing. Yeah, so I'm going to introduce, so you've seen that hopefully in the intro to this whole thing, but Miles took buses all the way across the country from Victoria to St. John's. And if you're wondering, yes, that is the direction he did. And then he flew home for a day and then flew here.
It's my most ambitious, ridiculous yeah. My flight here, $95.
Woo! No, there we go. No, skip that. There we go. Yeah, so Miles live tweeted it, skeeted it on Blue Sky, and I thought we could go through it. And just like Miles had some really excellent pictures and documentation, and just kind of like, yeah, walk us through the trip. Do you want me to scroll, or do you want to be the scroller?
Yeah, you can scroll if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so we started. How close should I be to this?
That's good.
Okay. Yeah. We started the mile 0 marker in Victoria, quite close here. We actually took the seaplane from Vancouver to Victoria, which was very fun. So the first part of this trip is pretty easy, starting with the BC Ferries Connector, which is this bus that goes from Victoria to Vancouver. It actually drives onto the ferry. It is super expensive, and it's actually really, they kind of trick you when you're buying the ticket, because they say, oh, this is going to cost $60. But then when you get to the end, they're like, oh, by the way, the ferry's an extra 20, haha. And they add taxes, so it ends up being like $90. And I should get this out of the way. When we're talking about these, we're talking about Canadian dollars. So check out this bus, though. Look how retro this is. It was some cool like 90s, 2000s decor. And then, yeah, so we drove through Vancouver Island. We saw some alpacas, not picture, but that was our first nature sighting, unexpectedly. And then I can count. I can count on my. Actually, the better thing is if I had a nickel for every time I've been on a bus that drove on a ferry, I'd have 2 nickels. I did it on a Greyhound once, and now this, and it's exciting every time. I mean, you can see. We got this secret slip lane. We had to drive through like some garage and got a secret lane onto the ferry. And then check out our picture. I'm so excited. And the ferry ride's beautiful, going through these. yeah.
So in Miles's videos, if you haven't watched them, there are certain inside jokes and like little clips that he like cues that get played every time. And so as soon as someone says ferry, there's a foghorn.
So yeah, we got this beautiful trip. We broke the rules a bit. We entered the U.S. midway through. And then we got back on the bus. It was actually really fun driving up, is it Canby?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And seeing the sort of condemned single-family houses that were soon to become huge skyscrapers, which the driver angrily told other passengers about. So we actually had a layover in Vancouver. We didn't have many layovers on this trip. We got to ride the aqua bus, which was really cool. Went to Granville Island. And yeah, so now Rider Express. This is kind of a big Western Canada super system that goes all the way to Winnipeg, Vancouver to Winnipeg. And if anyone's wondering, oh, I think Yute just got in. I was just talking about Granville Island. It made me think of your video, and I didn't know if you were here or not, but woo! Subscribe to About Here. Anyway, $500 from Vancouver to Winnipeg.
Much more than a flight.
Yeah, insanity. And there were more weirdnesses with that, which I'll get to. But funnily enough, the person threw our luggage under the bus, and we just got on. We didn't realize that we actually did have to show our ticket to someone. So I got a call on my phone from Vancouver, and I'm like, oh, interesting. This feels relevant. Pick it up. And someone's like, where are you? I look outside and I see another person on the phone. I'm like, oh, I'll come out and meet you. I appreciate the personal service, but yeah. And Rider Express, interestingly, actually forces you to show your ID, which I've never encountered on a bus system before. Oh yeah, also their whole thing, they love to do the Greyhound thing of, oh yeah, we don't actually stop in real places. So they stop outside of the Vancouver bus station, but they do not stop in it. And we asked them, we went into the terminal, we were like, does anyone know where the Rider Express, we asked the e-bus people, which is another bus company, do you know where Rider Express stops? And they said, they'll just park wherever they can find a place. No signs at all. So yeah, but this is a clear improvement in terms of like amenities. The seats are much nicer. We got to experience the lack of freeways in Vancouver, which is really fun. This is us stopping at YXX, Abbotsford International Airport, which is apparently where the Intercity buses stop. I learned that it has real flights. I didn't know that. This was the most scenic part of the trip. Beautiful mountains. Oh, and then we have the fun thing where the driver starts inventing rest stops, and you just realize that the schedule's kind of out the window. Which, you know, I mean, they need to take breaks, but there are scheduled rest stops, and it's just like you realize, okay, so we're just not listening to those. But I mean, look at these views. It was really spectacular. We saw a animal that looked like a big horse, and Alina was like, I think that's a moose, and I said, well, it doesn't have antlers, and she said, not all moose have antlers. And the whole rest of the trip we kept looking for moose and never found one, so I'm gonna pretend that we saw a moose. Oh yeah, and then we got a new driver who was much more of a control freak, which was kind of nice. And this bus was busy. This is the crazy thing, is that just for all the expense, all the costs that it takes, the infrequent service, these buses were used. And that was like, I don't want to say it was surprising, but like it was kind of surprising because it's just so expensive, and you know, there's just not as much population in Canada as there is in the US, but
yeah, like what is the use case, right? Like flights are cheaper for a lot of these trips, like the really long ones. And you were saying you saw people transfer in the same places that you were to do these cross-continental journeys.
We had 2 people go from BC to Ontario.
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive. So I actually like the contra. Go back up to the previous one. It's like, talk to you all bright and early from Calgary, and then yeah. So there was a crash somewhere in the mountains, and we were just kind of stuck for a little while. And then we had a medical emergency on the bus, unfortunately, and it was. I didn't really understand how it got resolved, to be honest. I think there was someone who was on the floor, and they ended up just kind of propping him up in his seat, and we just kept going. So I don't know, but it was a little scary because the Rider Express bus between Regina and Winnipeg runs once a week. So if we missed that, we were completely hosed. So this was a little terrifying, but thankfully it was actually kind of, it was in some ways a blessing in disguise, because we got to see the really nice like Rockies in the rising sun. I got a picture of, Alina told me I wasn't allowed to post it. I got a picture of Alina. She said I'm allowed to use it in the ad. She has a manta mask on. It's a sponsor I have, a manta sleep mask. And she's just like facing away from the window. She's like, and behind her are just the most beautiful mountains ever. She told me I'm allowed to use it for the commercial and the videos, so you'll see it at some point.
Did you get money from Manta just to mention it today?
No.
It's a thought.
Darn. But the driver said, okay, the Edmonton bus is going to wait for us. It might leave a little late, but it's going to wait for us, which that is awesome. Like, that was really, Greyhound would just be like, eh. Because bear in mind, so for those who don't know, I've crossed the U.S. by Greyhound twice and used Greyhound a number of other times, and just, I don't know, it's just the floor is really low for me, so anything better is notable. We had these grand plans for Calgary. We were gonna take the train into downtown and get breakfast, but that did not happen, unfortunately. We just transferred at a mall because Rider Express doesn't stop anywhere normal. But so now we're on the Calgary to Edmonton run. This is a very standard like Alberta run. There's like 5 companies that do it. It's probably the second busiest bus corridor outside of like, or maybe the busiest bus corridor outside of Eastern Canada, I would have to
Maybe
guess.
Yeah. Vancouver Whistler might be up there. But
sure, yeah. But definitely up there. That's right. Oh God, I forgot about this. Right, they added bonus stops in Edmonton and didn't tell us. God, I'm remembering this now because I was like, why are we so late? Yeah. My ticket said, oh, we'll get to Edmonton 11:25. Okay, nice. No, they updated it to I think 11:45, which is like, okay, cool. But the problem was that the time they scheduled between each of the bonus stops was impossible. So it's like they gave 15 minutes, like a 30-minute drive.
Cool.
Yeah, really good. It's like, oh, good. I'm glad we're serving Edmonton Airport, and then Village Square, I think maybe is a place. Is that a place that exists? Anyone know? Okay. So we got there late. We had to go. We just got lunch at the mall, and it wasn't even the West Edmonton Mall, which genuinely seems a little bit interesting. I think that's actually the 4th bus, maybe. But yeah. So then we got the bus to Regina. Oh yeah. So now we're in Alberta, whatever. We got to stop in Lloydminster, which is one of these places that only exists in trivia. Like, if you look on a map, the main street is split between Alberta and Saskatchewan. So it's like, wow. What?
I gas there once.
Hell yeah.
Friends from there.
So it might exist. It sounds like we have a bit of evidence.
Yeah, other people have been. It's not a mirage.
Yes, it exists. I've never been.
It's kind of like Braid Station, if anyone is.
No, I've actually gotten off there.
Okay.
I've been there before. I've gotten off there.
That's your opinion. I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean, this was just kind of nice. We got to stop in downtown Saskatoon, which
Better than Saskatoon via.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was kind of cool how there was just absolutely nothing. Like in the U.S. Midwest, you get like some towns, but this was just really, really nothing. And it was actually okay. This is a little appreciation thing. The service was structured such that there were many stops in small towns along the way, but the bus didn't necessarily stop at them unless someone was ticketed. So we were kind of blazing by everything, but if someone did want to get on in the middle of nowhere, they could. And I think that's a really neat, I think that there should be the option to stop in these rural places because that's a lifeline. That's the way to get out of a town like that, and that's really important. So, yeah, right. We tried to go to A&W because that would be faithfully Canadian, but it was drive-through only, so we had to go to Subway.
You know what? People assume that A&W is Canadian. It's definitely American.
It is?
Yeah. It's just there's just more of them here. We got some debate. Anyway, first A&W's in the U.S.
Oh, okay. Well, oh well. We got to wait at this lovely terminal, probably the not the worst terminal we would be waiting at on this trip. And then, so we got the weekly run to Winnipeg. 20 people on board, which to me, I don't know, it's a weekly bus, and yet 20 people are still relying on that. Maybe they'd get more. And more frequently. Yeah. And many people actually made the transfer, which is kind of impressive. So Winnipeg, we actually got a 6-hour layover, which for us was kind of nice. I feel like for someone trying to go from like Regina to Kenora or something, that would be a real pain. But for us, it was like, oh, cool, we get to see Winnipeg.
You put an inflection on that. I don't know if that was intentional or.
Well, we were there before the redesign. They redesigned their bus system recently, but I got my Canadian dollars in hand. We went to the Forks Market. That was really nice. We saw the nice sign that says Winnipeg. Saw the station, which was designed by the same firm as Grand Central Terminal.
Pretty nice.
That is a fun fact. But yeah, no, downtown Winnipeg. I don't know, man. This is the main street, and it's like really wide and like barren, and it wasn't. Yeah, yeah. This is like right outside the train station. What?
Did you go to Portage Place?
I guess not. If I don't remember it, is that better?
That's fair.
Is it better?
No.
Oh. Check this out, though. We went to the Manitoba Museum. Check out these fonts, man. These are incredible. We spent way less time focused on the content and way more time admiring the headers here. Yeah. It was amazing. I think there were some font foamers who replied with like, "Oh, this is this font from like 1976." The walk was really sad. Like there were no sidewalks in a lot of cases. It was like in really bad shape. And then the terminal, I didn't take a picture of it, but I think I got it on camera. You have to walk through this curtain, and you open this door with no windows, and then there's like a curtain in the way, and you have to walk through that.
This is like a radio play.
and now you're in this warehouse. We actually have two versions of this picture. The first one we took, Alina was smiling, and then she said, actually, let's take another one where it looks sad.
That actually answers my question. I was going to say, did you stage like the vibe of each photo to match the vibe that you were feeling?
Yeah, to an extent. Also, note how the terminal, you can see the terminal door there. Grey Wolf. That feels like a...
Looks like a pub.
It does,
Yeah.
Yes. Looks like a pub,
Looks
indeed.
like a terrible pub.
Yeah. So Ontario Northland is kind of the coolest thing ever. It's a provincial-run bus company, and it's like Marge Simpson. I just think it's neat. We'll kind of get to some of their neat things as we go along. But first of all, Mondo Legroom here. I was really impressed. This is like a train, like a nice Via or Amtrak train. And let's see. Oh my God. Okay, so Northern Ontario is amazing. I loved it. It was really cool going east out of Winnipeg, and it's like, okay, we're in farmland, and then you start to see trees, and then you start to get topography, and it's like, okay, we're in Ontario now. And you just get these lakes and these beautiful. The bus would stop at Ontario Northland. They have real stations. Yeah. And what's also cool is that they do a package service, and a lot of, I don't think Rider Express does, but a lot of the other buses from here on out had package services where if you want to deliver your packages by bus, you can do that. And from what I've heard, Canada Post is like not the best, so being able to deliver packages to rural areas by bus is like kind of a cool thing, and it generates more revenue for the company.
And it's way cheaper than any other option, but you have to go and pick it up at the bus station. But for a lot of types of thing, like that's no big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we'd stop at these little general stores and like gas, like the one gas pump was so cool.
Souvenirs.
Yeah.
Ma.
And you can see this is still an official stop. It's got an Ontario Northland sign in the window. And it was all these cool like lake towns in the summer. It was really neat. And the bus had automated announcements, so it would be like for this rest stop, it was like next stop McDonald's rest stop. Push on a ret McDonald's. Alina tried the McDonald's poutine and said it was. This was a kind of a cool route because we went down to the border of the U.S. You can see we were actually looking at the U.S. right there. And then, yeah, the bus actually announced the time zone change, which is pretty neat. This is the only bus with automated announcements. It's like that's like a neat, it's a good accessibility feature.
And you know what? Actually, it occurs to me that it might be because they have to comply to the AODA, Ontario Accessibility for People, something AODA, but disabilities, and we don't have anything like that in BC, as far as I understand.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so then, this is one of my favorite pictures from the trip. Like, the potholes, the unpaved lot outside of Gio's Italian Cafe. We actually, someone responded to this particular post saying, did the driver warn you about the angry proprietor of the cafe? And I said no, but the guy was angry. Very brief layover in Thunder Bay, but again, a real station. We could wait inside. I was really sad. You know that bridge in, I don't know how you say it, Nipigon? The one bridge that connects East and West Canada? It was at like 2 a.m. and I missed it. Yeah.
You'll have to do it again.
Got Lake Superior, Sault Ste. Marie. I got the Mama Burger at A&W. We did get an A&W trip. Check this out. Ontario Northland runs these like school bus shuttles to connect to other towns. It'll be like actually connecting with our trip, and it'll go up to another town. And it's like, that's just really cool. Like that's a genuinely really cool thing that they're coordinating these transfers.
It's so caring.
Yeah.
It's like, they actually care about the people that are just a little bit off the line.
Right.
They need to get to.
And it had, 2 or 3 people on it. It seems like a vehicle that's fit for that job. Like, I thought it was really impressive. Oh, here we go. Boston pizza. We had a woman sitting behind us on one of the Alberta buses who said she'd never met someone from the States before. And I mentioned I was from, Okay. We met some real townies on this trip. And I mentioned I was from Boston. She said, oh, Boston. Like the pizza. Now, unfortunately, we made the mistake of actually getting the pizza at Boston Pizza. I will say Boston is not known for its pizza, so it's a really odd choice.
Soft cheesies.
What was that?
There is no time for soft cheesies.
Yeah, I mean, and Boston Pizza's like whole mantra is like this was created by someone who had never been to Boston. It's like, okay, well,
They said that?
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, not.
Canadian company.
Yeah, yeah.
Pizza.
On Boston Street in Calgary.
We also have New York fries, a fully Canadian company.
What
if
is
you
it?
want New York fries, if you want
Oh.
to put in. Yeah.
Okay, so what was actually kind of interesting about Ontario Northland is that generally they were kind of D-padded, and meaning that like the bus would often run a couple minutes late the whole way, which like is fine if you're running like 10 to 15 minutes late. I'm not going to be that upset on an intercity journey. But what was interesting was this Toronto trip, they padded it to heck. I guess because they know that they're going into the city, and you were saying to me earlier that this highway is like notorious.
Yeah,
for, like,
it's a
traffic.
cottage country, right? People
Yeah.
will be backed up for 4 hours stationary.
Yeah, but what was nice is we got to all the stops really early. We got to Parry Sound. I think that's a little further down. Yeah, it was near a supermarket. We were able to get some actual fruits, which was good. We had been eating only carbs. So, people were so mad at that Barry one. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
I'm like, well, it's on Go. It's got to be in the GTA, right? No. I learned that the hard way. Oh, that's a good tweet. Yeah, it's crazy that approaching Toronto feels like the home stretch when there's still so much Canada left. We made it to Toronto, but the megabus, I don't know who's familiar with megabus, but they usually have this guy on the back of the bus. He was not there. He was on my ticket, but he was not there on the back of the bus. And then, surprise, no AC on this bus. And this is a double-decker bus. It is completely slammed because did you know the only bus company between Toronto and Montreal is Megabus, which is one of the more insane facets of Canada's intercity bus. And I want to say it's something to do with like provincial, like I feel like I've heard that provincially that's like chartered, but I don't know if that's...
That used to be true, but I'm pretty sure they dismantled the cross-subsidization system in
Really?
Ontario. Yeah.
Well, then someone better pick up that route because Megabus is awful, man. The seats were so uncomfortable. But then, so we're having an issue. We need to change buses. Look what pulls up. This is the power we need. And frankly, this was a really concerning part of the trip because our layover in Montreal, Montreal. You guys always get mad at me when I say. And this is Toronto.
It's so nice when Americans notice us.
But yeah, our layover in Montreal was like 50 minutes, of which at least like 15 to 20 had to be spent taking the metro between the megabus station and the actual bus station, because of course Megabus doesn't stop at the bus station. Why would it? So we left 39 minutes late. Pretty concerning, but thankfully the trip was super padded. I counted the Montreal Metro as a bus.
Because it is on rubber
It's on
tires.
rubber tires.
Tires on rails.
Yeah. I can't wait for the comments on that one when the video comes out. So now we're on the Keolis Express, Orleans Express. But you can see they're very proud of the fact that they're run by Keolis. This was pretty nice. This was a very busy bus. This was Montreal to Quebec City, and they do kind of a weird thing where they run these once a day trips to Gaspé, and they all connect from this one bus. So it was like 3 buses worth of people on one bus. And apparently they've actually, my friend when he took this said that they ran kind of an extra bus for people just going to Quebec City, and it was much quieter. So there's a lot of people going to this more rural part of Quebec, which is really interesting and supports my theory that buses are really good for serving like rural areas.
And can we just pause here? Gaspé is not in the direction of St. John's, Newfoundland.
No.
I want to cue you up because it's really weird. It's going up and northeast.
Yeah.
Whereas the usual trip would come down through Edmonton and Rivière-du-Loup. But
Yeah.
what is going on here? Maybe that's foreshadowing.
Yeah, well, so we're making our way. They had these nice pulse transfers. It was funny because on the first bus, the driver made the effort of doing French and then English. The subsequent drivers did not do that. Yeah.
Oh.
Thankfully, Alina speaks French, so, well, kind of. But so we're getting to rural Quebec here. We got to go to a mall Which honestly, I actually this was a really interesting thing because I was really impressed at how busy the mall was, and this is not like a well-served transit destination. This isn't like a I'm sorry, I'm having East Coast mind here, but the Scarborough Town Center, like I don't know what the Vancouver equivalent is, but like it's not necessarily a transit thing because this mall was really busy despite being in quite a small town. So I don't know. Canada's good at malls, I guess.
Not the Kingsway Mall. You will be very disappointed.
Oh, okay.
A hallway with a safe on had to be slapped on top of it. It's horrible. I had to wait there for an hour.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
We should go to Crystal Mall.
Kingsgate holds that.
I will say this trip was really fantastic. Rural Quebec, so pretty. We actually passed 2 covered bridges. It was really pretty. So okay, we got to Pointe à la Croix, and then Maritime Bus doesn't actually go to Quebec. So we got to do a, I put it in the wrong
4
unit.
kilometers.
Yeah.
5 kilometers walk.
I think 5 kilometers, yeah. Walk to New Brunswick, or sorry, Nouvelle Brunswick, I think it says on that sign. Which, I mean, we got to see the various establishments along sort of this border road, which was mainly liquor and weed shops.
This made me really mad when I learned this, that there is literally no way to take a bus between New Brunswick and Quebec.
Yeah.
And you just have to take the bus to Gaspé, get off partway through, and walk across the border to New Brunswick.
And then spend the night.
Yeah.
There's not even, you can't do a same day connection. So like one of my friends in Ottawa, when she needs to go to, because she has relatives over in the Maritimes, she has to just, I believe her strategy is to take Via Rail to Truro and then walk to the Maritime bus terminal, like, 20 minutes out into the suburbs. And like that's because Via Rail is the only way by ground to get between Quebec and the Maritimes, and that's 3 times a week. Like it's totally ridiculous. We got this nice, got a nice B&B stay. The owner was very talkative, and I'm like, we gotta go. Our bus leaves in 15 minutes. And he's like, oh, one more story. It's short. So we had to run, but
Gotta go.
I'm sort of Atlantic Canada foaming here. It's my favorite region of Canada. Sorry, guys.
Is that just because it's so much like New England?
Yes. New England on steroids.
Mystery solved.
Yeah. But Maritime Bus, for what it's worth, like within their little sphere of interest, they're very good. They have all these pulse transfers. And a pulse is like when you have sort of a slew of buses that all connect to each other and then pulse out at the same time. So it's really good for making transfers. And seeing it on really any network, but especially an Intercity bus network, just makes my heart swell. It's wonderful. And so we got this Moncton Pulse. We got this super old bus. Look at those seats. Really comfy.
Cushy.
We got the greatest body of water in the world, the Bay of Fundy.
No applause for Bay of Fundy.
I know, come on, guys.
I mean, a lot of Pacific Ocean stands here. I don't know. Okay, we got a little bit of.
Yes. And then, Maritime Bus, like, the buses were really crappy, but also these were very busy buses, which I think, like, it's like the Atlantic Canada urbanism. It's the fact that they run these nice transfers. Probably the fact they only run once a day, so everyone's kind of packed onto the one bus that runs. But, man, look at this. I mean, this is like, how can you not be overjoyed at that. So I would like to bring up a little side quest that I started to have here. The bus in Newfoundland is cash only. And I started to make a side quest of trying to get cash. So the first time I tried it was at a rest stop on Maritime Bus, and I did not have enough time to get to the ATM. Okay, fine, I'll use the one at the Marine Atlantic terminal. So we get to the Marine Atlantic. The driver actually dropped us off at the ferry terminal, which is, I don't think they're supposed to do, but there were, I think, 6 people going to the ferry, which, like, cool. Yeah, you can see I'm very excited about being on a ferry. The Marine Atlantic terminal ATM did not take Visa, which is bizarre, right?
This is weird little card issuer. It's not very common.
And both of us have Visa debit cards, so that did not work. You would, whatever.
Sure, Interact.
Yeah.
That's the intermediate level Canadiana, is learning about Interac.
Oh, I
Anyway.
see. Yeah, I had some commenters being like, "Oh, could you just ask someone to Venmo them?" And then the Canadians were like, "What's Venmo?"
Yeah.
The boat was very nice. Actually, I kind of crashed out because it was just, I mean, there were people who were like playing stuff on their phones. People were kind of like on the floor with their like bare feet up on the seats. One guy, I mean, this was the loudest snoring I've ever heard, and I had to like kind of walk out into the North Atlantic, like walk outside. Sorry, not into the ocean, but like walk outside at like 3 a.m.
And the cabins are actually pretty affordable, right? Relatively.
That's why they sell out months in advance. Because I would have splurged for that, Dennis. But no, definitely not. So yeah, and then it was this kind of extra funny thing of one thing I like to do when I ride ferries is determine if the foot passengers are pariahs in comparison to the car people. So getting on was kind of nice. You get your own special bus that drives on. It's like, that's cool. Turns out that when you're getting off, the bus is the last thing to leave. And so we're just sitting there, and the DRL bus leaves at 8. That's the Newfoundland bus, leaves at 8, and we're checking our watches, and it's like 7:47, and they're just making announcements. With the owner of a black motorcycle, you are blocking the roadway. Please move your vehicle.
Oh, God.
And then like finally we get off. We're able to take the bus off, and then I kind of run out to the bus, which is thankfully still there. So I guess they wait for ferry passengers. They could maybe say that on their website from at least like 2013, but like I say that, I mean, actually it has to be from before, because their website schedule has a stop that says this stop is closed effective 2013.
Wow.
Yeah. The driver was like, "You don't have cash, you don't get on." And I'm like, oh God. So fine, try this ATM. Oh, it's out of order. Yeah, so the bus was actually pretty nice.
So wait, he suspended his rule. You don't have cash, you don't get on.
So it was really lucky.
Huh.
So the way DRL works is there's a driver and there's an attendant, and the attendant lives at the next stop. So we could go to the next stop and go to like the general store and go to an ATM there.
Oh my God.
Because the attendant doesn't get on until then, and she's the one who actually collects the tickets.
Okay.
So we're making our way through. That's a good picture. We're making our way through Newfoundland. Here are my fat stacks. $165 per person.
Per person.
Money.
Yeah. Which is just like the ATM's max withdrawal was $200.
Wow.
So I had to actually do this in multiple fee transactions where they're collecting a fee of like $2 per thing, which, like, I don't know, kind of annoying, but whatever. You get this little receipt.
Wow. This is like 80s.
It's very old school. And the agent was like, "Are you guys students?" And we were like, and she was like, "It's cheaper." So we got like a slightly discounted, only whatever 294 divided by 2 is.
Yeah.
Now we get the Newfoundland accents, which I loved. We got to stop at the Bates Motel, but it's actually clean, was what the attendant said.
They had so many opportunities to change the name of that motel in the years since that movie came out. They just didn't.
Well, no, she was just making it was not even called that. She was just making an analogy. Oh. That it feels like, I don't know. Kind of an interesting way. I was foaming my head off here. We got a 20-minute rest stop at Gander Airport, where we're nominally supposed to be getting dinner, but I did not get any food. Look at this. So for those who don't know the history of Gander Airport, it is a very important airport. It was the refueling stop for transatlantic flights up until, in some cases, up until the 90s. So it was a very important airport, and even to this day, it's still a really important spot for diverting planes. So actually, so this was an American Airlines plane from Delhi, India, flying to New York, and it got diverted to Gander, and we got to see this plane. I was so excited. They actually flew in a bonus plane from Philly with like extra crew because this crew timed out. And because this airport is so helpful for diversions, on 9/11 when U.S. airspace closed, they sent a ton of planes over to Gander, and the musical "Come From Away" is about how the town welcomed everyone, and it's one of the few feel-good stories on like a not very happy day. But
And there's some really excellent podcasts about, there's a great episode of 99% Invisible, I think, that talks about day-to-day life in the Gander airport when airplanes couldn't go all the way to Europe, which meant they had to stop in Gander. So every famous person wanting to go between Europe and the United States would have to hang out in here in Gander. There was no airport security, so they were just like hanging out with Newfie locals. You'd have like Fidel Castro just hanging out in the bar.
wow.
Like, anyway, it's a wild
It's
story.
so beautiful too. They've kept
Yeah.
the original terminal, and even today the air passenger control at Gander, basically any plane crossing the Atlantic has to talk to them. So it's still really important. It's just so cool. So it's this random place, and I can't believe that this is where the bus company does its layover. Okay, so. This is all Gander filming.
Your stuff.
Newfoundland was amazing. We got a rest stop in Goobies. Shout out to Goobies. Probably like the like 8th most interesting town name in Newfoundland, if we're being honest. But
Yeah, world-class town names in Newfoundland.
Coming close to St. John's here. This bus was honestly quite busy, and the attendant was saying that was kind of unusual, but still, I mean, for a once-a-day bus, just cash only and really quite expensive. I thought that was pretty impressive. We made it so it doesn't stop in downtown St. John's. It stops at Memorial University. So we actually had to get Metrobus into town. You see we're hardly getting on there. Metrobus is a system I could talk about for a while. Maybe we'll save that for later in the discussion. But it manages to invent new ways to be bad. Anyway, and then we made it. We made it to the kilometer zero marker. And that was it. So we went from mile 0 to kilometer 0, and in 6 days, and it was a really amazing trip.
Are you able to tell us how much the whole thing costs?
Yes. Do you want an exact number? I can probably.
I don't really need an exact number,
Okay. It was
but something scary. Is it a scary number?
Does anyone want to guess?
Ooh.
1,800.
Okay. Okay.
$1,673.
I'm happy because everyone's guessing higher than what it actually was.
Okay.
It's 1,500.
Canadian or American?
Canadian. But still, I mean, think about, I think if you fly from Victoria to St. John's, it's like, I don't know, $300 max, probably less.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, more than that? To fly? One way?
Yeah, depending if you get like the ultra basic fare.
yeah.
It varies wildly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to pay like $1,000.
I was looking at it, wasn't, I mean, okay, wow.
Summer versus winter.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
seasonal.
Well, still cheaper than the bus, I guess.
Wow. What a trip.
Yeah.
Let's do a tier list.
Ooh.
Is anybody in here not familiar with a tier list? Have you guys ever? Anyone want to cop to that? Emily? All right. This is apparently a video game thing. I just know it through transit people videos, which seems like kind of an offshoot of the video game world. But so it's like a ranking, right?
Yeah.
I get A, B, C, D, and F. What is S?
The best. I believe it stands for special.
Special.
I don't know. The gamers are going to kill me now, but
or whatever.
It's from Japan where they have great inflation.
Sugoi.
Oh, okay. Cool. So, shall we go? We'll go through them one by one. You can give your kind of final summary verdict, and then we'll place them in a rank. How does that sound?
All right, let's do it. I'll try not to think too hard about it because I think way too hard about these things. All right.
BC Ferries Connector.
So it's a bus that drives on a ferry, which that definitely gives it
Pretty
points.
cool.
Yeah, it's also expensive as hell.
That's pretty bad.
And one thing I do want to do at some point is calculate the cost per mile of each of these. But I don't like how they kind of throw the ferry fare on at the end. The bus was old and neat, but it also meant it had no amenities, no outlets or anything. I feel like we got to go C tier on this one.
C tier.
Ooh, I don't remember. I don't think it did, but
It's old. Why wouldn't it have an ashtray? The airplanes still have ashtrays.
yeah, you're right.
Okay, Rider Express.
Rider
Was this the
Express.
longest segment?
This was the longest, yeah. Although it tells you how huge Ontario is. Ontario Northland was not far behind. So Rider Express, it's this sprawling system. It's expensive, and they added those bonus Edmonton stops. It runs the once-a-week trip between Regina and Winnipeg. I'm kind of talking myself out of Rider Express, but the buses are nice. The actual experience of Rider Express is pretty okay. Oh,
Do they have Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was good or not. Alina was generally testing out the Wi-Fi. Oh man, I wish I could remember it. That's I'm sure in the video we talk about it, but oh man, they have a really impressive service area. But I would probably go C for them as well.
Wow. Okay. Here we go.
Maybe I'll regret this later. All right, then we got the GOAT now.
Ontario Northland.
Greatest thing of all time. I think we got to put him in S, man.
S tier. Wow.
Just on all of these, they actually, I didn't even mention, they have their own entertainment system on board. So we actually watched the Elvis movie, which we thought was a little over the top. What?
That's the best because it's red.
It's the best because it's red?
Okay.
Is it the best or the worst?
This is the
It's
best.
the best. Yeah. S is the best. F is the worst. The colors really do.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Normally the best. Yeah.
Yeah, and they serve very, very remote areas. Someone sent me a population density map, and I think Ontario Northland actually serves the most, the least densely populated areas of anywhere that we went.
Wow.
Big props to them. Plus, it's interesting that the best run company is the publicly owned one. Oh God. Okay.
That's true. And it's also sad that it's the only one of this entire trip that is public.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see. The oh God was in response to this next one.
Megabus with the guy.
With the guy. Does the guy give him a bonus point? Does the guy put them in D? Put it between D and F. Put it
On the line?
halfway. Yeah.
It's a D minus.
D minus.
Okay.
I'll put an F. I mean,
okay. Very persuadable.
the
Wow.
seats are so uncomfortable.
They are.
It's cool it's a double decker bus. I'll give it credit for that. But we have a couple questions.
One take Megabus, but then due to all the winter stuff, I took VO Rail.
Oh, okay.
Much more comfortable.
Time that during that big blizzard in Montreal, and around the time the Delta plane flipped over, I was there in Montreal when the Delta thing happened. We got a whole bunch of diversions in Montreal.
Oh wow.
Wow.
CGP Grey had a double F list where it's even further below F, you have FS down to F.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
The U.S. flags that are all a seal on a blue background. That was.
No wonder why Alberta wants to be the 51st state. They have the same flag.
All right. Orléans Express, or just Keolis.
They were pretty good. They were quite good. We didn't really talk about their operations much, but they have a very linear system. But like there are systems in Quebec that go way out north, like to crazy places. Orleans Express is very much more just like kind of the southernmost part of the province, probably where the most people live. But like we generally arrived early at stops. Sometimes we left early, which is interesting. I guess the implication being that everyone who bought a ticket was on the bus. But even so, I don't know if it's the best practice. Obviously, they kind of stopped being bilingual at a certain point.
It's like the further you are from Montreal, it's kind of like a Wi-Fi reception of how much English you can get.
Yeah, exactly.
It reflects the realities on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's put them in A tier.
Wow.
They're pretty good.
Okay, Maritime Bus.
Maritime Bus. Okay. So Maritime Bus, I don't like how they stopped going to Quebec because they used to, but I do think they run like this could be Atlantic Canada bias. I will just put this out there, but they have a neat network of like they kind of encourage a lot of transfers. They have a lot of stuff from the West come into oh gosh.
Truro?
Truro. It is Truro. Okay, Truro. And then they run a bus from Truro to Amherst. No, I can't remember. I can't remember the town. Moncton. Everything comes into Moncton. That's what it is. And then they go from Moncton to Amherst and to Truro, and like other stuff connects from those, and then they all fan out again. It's like that's a ticket to my heart. I think that's really neat. They do only run one bus a day on most of their routes. But they also, got to give them credit, they were pretty cheap. Campbellton to North Sydney, $100.
Okay.
Which, like, for basically an all-day affair, I think that's quite reasonable. Their buses were a little crummy. I think we'll go B tier on them.
B tier. Okay. And then finally, DRL. Newfoundland's finest.
The tax intrigue. I don't know. Cash only business is a little weird. Like to me, that's like major points off was like having to scramble for an ATM. But they're very old school for sure. The bus was actually pretty nice. The operation was perfectly nice. They have like built-in rest stops. It's just a single line system. I mean, maybe throw them into C too. We have a kind of an overstuffed
A big C tier. Okay.
Yeah, but like. If they weren't cash only, I could see them being A. The cash only thing is just really frustrating.
Brutal. Before we were talking earlier today, and you told me a story about some of the other intercity buses in Newfoundland, and I think the audience might really appreciate, like, because you had to go somewhere else after, right?
Yeah, we didn't have to, but we decided.
Nobody has to do anything.
Yeah, so we gave ourselves we wanted to spend some time in Newfoundland because like if you're in Newfoundland, you got to hang out in Newfoundland. When else are you going to be in Newfoundland? And we decided to go to this place called Saint Pierre and Miquelon. If anyone knows what this is, a French. Well, it's just France. Yeah, it's these islands off the coast of Newfoundland. Thank you. No.
Is that flight running right now?
It is.
That's back. It came back seasonally.
So we wanted to take like kind of the overland route to get there, and Newfoundland's intercity bus network is really interesting because you have DRL, which runs actual scheduled service across the province, which by the way is like so much bigger than you realize. Like there were the coach attendant on the bus, they switch coach attendants in the middle. She said she has never been past that point in the middle. She has never been to St. John's. Which is like, I mean, it's like a little interesting to me. It's like, wow, that's like a serious townie right there, you know?
Wow.
And yeah, it's a really big island, but it's also like, it's just really interesting. I think it's to be honest, I don't even know if it's that remarkable. It's just like that the island is so big and such a pain to drive across that like, why would you go to St. John's? I don't know.
I mean, it's the only big city in the entire province.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It blows my mind.
Yeah. But anyway, so we had to go to this place called Fortune, which is where the ferry leaves from. And Newfoundland it's the one bus, and then there's this menagerie of taxi taxi companies that kind of each have their own little service areas. So to get to Fortune, we had to take Foot's Taxi, whose online presence consists of a Facebook page. And we had to, we had to call them, and they said, okay, it'll be there. I was like, okay. I called them, I think, 3 weeks in advance. I heard nothing else. They said they'd call me the night before. They did not do that. So I called them the night before. I bugged them. They were like, no, yeah, the driver will call you when he gets there. Okay. Said that the taxi would be there around like 1-ish. This is cash only too, $60 each. And we basically just hung out in our Airbnb until I got a phone call. And the driver's like, Miles? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm almost there, bud. And it was really funny. We got on the bus. I say bus. It was like a sort of a Ford.
Ford Transit.
Yeah, like sort of a.
Love that.
Yeah. What was that?
Kind of like
Yeah, like a van type of thing. And he was like, "You're not trying to make that ferry, are you?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, we are." He's like, "I don't know if we're gonna make it." Because the way the model works, they do like on-demand service within St. John's, and then drive to the Burin Peninsula, which is where Fortune is, and then drop people off there wherever they want. So because it was an exceptionally busy day, there were more people, more pickups that had to be made, all adding more time. And we just kind of crossed our fingers and hoped. The driver actually called the ferry company for us.
Oh, that's great. That's nice.
Which was really nice. And we would literally like pull into this like tiny fishing village and like go into someone's driveway and like, all right, Tom, have a good one. It was a really like interesting personal service. And I asked him like, is it usually this busy? It was, I think, 6 other people. So not packed by any means, but he was like, I asked if it was usually this busy, and he said, well, I gotta make money somehow. It's not usually this busy, but you gotta. He said he sometimes gets an empty trip, which is crazy. It's like, how are these people making money? It's really impressive. And also kind of, if it wasn't so much of a pain to get on, I wonder if they'd have a better shot. But yeah, and then we took the ferry over to St. Pierre, and then we did some. I mean, that was a really cool place. There's some good aviation stuff there. We did some more ferries. Cool place. If you've never been, it's a really, really neat spot.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah.
This transition made more sense maybe when I was writing it, but I just want to talk about the little megabus guy for a little while.
Sure.
And oh no, these slides are not the ones. How did it get down there?
Now, where does Greyhound enabled by Flixbus fit in?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Expand the tier list to outside of Canada, I guess?
Yeah, so we've got Megabus and F, I guess. Then if you add like an FF, and then if you add an FFF, and then put Greyhound below that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does Greyhound Canada fit into that tier list?
I don't know. I've never ridden them, and now I can't. They don't exist.
Doesn't exist. I have very fond memories from University of Greyhound Canada. Tons of departures. They did the thing you were talking about where like they would have like maybe 6 schedules a day, but on busy days it would actually be served by 12 buses.
Oh,
and there would just be like, because I used to go from Ottawa to Toronto all the time, and there would sometimes be 3 coaches just like ready to go like to Ottawa. And if you were trying to get to an intermediary stop or you wanted the rest break and you ended up on the express, then forget it. You're going straight to Ottawa.
That is like remarkably conscientious for Greyhound, though.
Yeah.
To run like extra trips.
Yeah. Good times. Also, there was a trick where it was $50 from Toronto to Ottawa, but they were trying to compete with Megabus to sell tickets to Montreal. And so it was $30 from Toronto to Montreal via Ottawa. And so once I learned that, I was always going to Montreal and then just throwing away the second ticket.
Wow.
Who's going to stop me?
Little skip lag trip.
You know it.
It used to also pick you up at small town, like small places that weren't on a map at all. It used to be the only thing connecting Britannia Beach to Squamish.
There you go. Britannia Beach used to be a Greyhound stop.
Well, because now there's no way, like if you live anywhere between, what is it, past Lions Bay and then Squamish, there's no way to access that part of the highway. Because the only thing that used to, I mean, I guess you could get on the Squamish connector, but that doesn't stop that way. The thing that used to flow up the highway was Greyhound, because you could call them and say, I'm going to stand beside this railroad track.
Wow.
Highway, could you come pick me up?
That's so cool.
Hitchhike now. My parents have good memories of Greyhound Canada from like way back in the day. But that's so long ago. And like I think Greyhound was a different thing at that time at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
More, I guess, I hate to use the term normal to do that, but you know, like my grandparents, that's what they would do when they were trying to go to towns and stuff.
I mean, it was almost like a prestige service in some ways, like those scenic cruiser buses that had like a dome. Like,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
I mean, the Greyhound terminal was this huge thing that was right over there.
Yeah.
Now gone, but,
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like Cleveland's Greyhound terminals, like this Art Deco masterpiece, like,
And there were dozens of those before.
Yeah.
The Greyhound terminals used to all be this beautiful Art Deco, you know.
and not to mention Greyhound was literally like you could cross Canada on one company. It was
Yeah.
so much easier. Like to plan this out, I had to like buy all these separate tickets,
Yeah.
all with different weird rules and like. You know, like some of them took my credit card, some of them didn't. Some of them were cash only. It's like, you know, with Greyhound, you could get across, I think, most of Canada. I don't know if it made it past, like, into the Maritimes ever, but maybe it did. I don't know.
What happened to Greyhound Canada?
So yeah, we can talk a little bit about the death spiral and intercity public transportation in North America, really, but in Canada it was really bad. But okay, we're good. We're good on camera. We don't have Greyhound anymore, and we have just like a skeleton of the system that we used to have, right? Like there's lots of different companies trying to serve these former Greyhound routes, and I don't think there's any like perfect way to pinpoint exactly why these systems kind of died off, but it really feels like a ridership death spiral where, you know, there's a certain drop in ridership because we've invested so much in road infrastructure and in airport infrastructure, and flying becomes cheaper, driving becomes cheaper, and people in small towns generally at this point everyone's got a car to get around, whereas that didn't necessarily used to be the case in small towns. And so it just gradually chips away, and it makes it harder for the systems to maintain frequency. The frequency goes down, and people are like, oh, well, I'm definitely getting a car if there's only one trip a day. And then it just kind of goes down and down and down.
Yeah, and then in the case of, you know, of these rural areas, you know, it leaves people who still don't have a car, who can't afford a car for whatever reason, no other option. In a city, maybe you'll still have a bus that's really infrequent, or you can maybe walk to another bus. But in especially in these inner city cases, if it's a rural town, you are just completely screwed.
And actually, that's an amazing transition to this megabus thing that I was trying to shoehorn into this somehow. I was doing a bunch of Google image searching for megabus logos, and it was weirder than I thought. There's this guy. Already weird. And he has a different name in different countries, is that right?
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, I call him the guy, of course. In the UK, his name is Sid for a quid. In the US, it's Chuck for a buck. Nothing for Canada. We need like Mooney for a loony or something.
Yeah, we got to come up with something.
Yeah.
But okay, so there's a little like Barbie meme. That's pretty funny.
I hate this rendition of him. He's like, they made him all like, they try to like make him all cute. I'm all cute now. It's like, no, he needs like the weird rosy cheeks and the excessive details and wrinkles. Like this is a bad version of the guy.
So I'm scrolling through the Google image search, and then I get this. I'm like, okay, that's even weirder. And then I keep scrolling, and I get this. This person got a megabus tattoo. But it gets so much more interesting. Okay, first of all, he says, I wanted him to look a little bit less creepy than he does on the side of the bus. His eyes and mouth are a bit shady in the original. I wanted mine to look a bit more happy and welcoming. Mission accomplished, I think. But he was saying that, so he grew up in a small town in Scotland, and he was trans. friends, and he was getting all sorts of abuse from like the people in his small town, and the megabus was his way of getting out, like going to punk shows and just like communing with people that aren't so close-minded. And so it ended up becoming, oh wow, like this is the power of intercity transportation. I was just searching around on Google image searches for like things that would make people laugh, and I ended up finding a point that really illustrates what we're trying to do today.
You make this funny story suddenly. So what was that?
Nothing. So this was my prompt to ask you, okay, if you were starting a bus line.
This is delivery right here. This is perfect.
Yeah, right? Control C, Control V, easy. Yeah, what would you design into your bus network or like your bus company?
Well, I mean, obviously, we got to have the nicest buses ever, all the amenities, plugs and stuff. But I think the more interesting aspect is like the network design. Like it's easy to say like we want the perfect buses. Yeah, we'll have the perfect buses. That's fine. But I think that a good intercity bus network is one that is able to facilitate transfers within itself. And I think in Canada, it's not. It's less difficult to do it because the country's very linear. So like the most complicated it gets is probably like maritime bus, where you have stuff feeding in, and then but then you have sort of this one corridor, and then everything feeds out again. It's still not too bad. Working in the U.S., you have this more like web of places, and there are companies that are actually able to work with that. Barron's Bus comes to mind, and Jefferson Lines, where they have these. The Jefferson Lines, for example, is based in Minnesota, and they have these pulse points all across Minnesota where buses will meet each other, and you can get all over the state. So I think it would be really important to have a system where maybe you're not necessarily getting a one-seat ride everywhere, but you're able to have these timed connections to make that work. And it's difficult, right? It's tough to schedule that. If your bus gets late, do you hold other buses? Like you need to figure this stuff out. You need to have real stations where you can actually have these buses lay up. Yeah, so I think it's definitely like a big challenge, but you just get such a better system out of it compared to Greyhound's just kind of web of, if you miss a connection, they punch some stuff into a computer, and now you're going a completely different way to eventually get to your destination.
So what I'm getting is that like similar to kind of the intro, the things to really focus on are the customer experience and the service, and like the person's experience from booking the ticket to like getting where they're going, and how long the connections are, if you can kind of get those down.
Yeah.
As opposed to monorails and hyperloops and stuff like that. Like there's a really affordable way to make something actually super useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and no, you hit the nail on the head. Like just a network that gets you places, and that's kind of all you need.
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean, that's a great lead in to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is just to really bring it down to BC, and why I think we as an organization are really interested in talking about this stuff. Last year, we had a provincial election. You might know. There was a platform for the winning party, the NDP. They put a bunch of stuff in there that I really liked. And one of the things that got me most excited was this thing that I put in this box here. Oh, by the way, I need to point out the URL of the platform. Final. Honestly, I'm not mad. Like, that's super relatable. They said here, connect the province with an expanded express bus service. And long overdue. So we have a few interesting funded services in BC already, but they don't cover the whole province, and they do some pretty niche things. Like, first of all, Via Rail does a very niche thing, very highly funded, as I mentioned. But then we have BC Bus North, which is funded by the province, and it links cities in northern BC. And one of the things that preceded it was the story around the Highway of Tears, Highway 16, that links the Northwest, like towards Prince Rupert. A lot of women, and especially Indigenous women, were hitchhiking and just disappearing off of this highway. So at first, BC Transit implemented a bus service to give people an option, like a safe option. And it was pretty wild in the sense that you couldn't run the entire highway on a bus. Like, it would just run little segments at a time. And like, if you actually wanted to get out of town, it would take days. But then BC Bus North came around, and they have kind of a network. You can see here in the schedule, Monday and Thursday. So that's twice a week.
Oof.
And you can see the network here runs all the way up to Fort Nelson, Prince Rupert, what's that, Vanderhoof, no, Valemount, and Kamloops. That's the whole province of British Columbia. Nothing else to serve. Actually, if you Control F, if you search on the BC Bus North website for any mention of Vancouver or Victoria, there's just nothing. It just will not give you any option. So like if you, they have an FAQ section, frequently asked questions. Hey, how do I get to Vancouver from Prince George? I don't know. Yeah, you take the bus to Kamloops and then you walk. Anyway, so it's a real illustration of great intent and just need to think a little bit bigger. Another thing that you all might be interested to learn about is the Northern Health Connections, which is funded by the Health Authority, and it runs a lot of these same routes that you can see as BC Bus North, although look, it goes to Vancouver, Prince George to Vancouver, and it's more frequent. It runs 4 times a week, but you need to have a doctor's note to ride it, or be a senior, or be a student, or be in the health industry. There's like a list of qualifications, and most of us in this room do not meet those qualifications.
You also need to answer the troll's riddle.
Yes, you do.
Bus has 2 doors. One of them lies, the other concentrates.
There you go. So that's subsidized service number 2 in northern BC, and then subsidized service number 3 via rail. They have the service, all the way from Jasper into Vancouver, and it starts in Toronto. But then they have this service that goes from Jasper to Prince Rupert. If you want to travel from Prince Rupert to Vancouver, you can, but you have to go into Alberta first, into Jasper, and then there's this fun thing in the schedule where if you're traveling east, I think this is east. Anyway, if you're traveling in both directions, you stop at 5 p.m. in Prince George, and then the next line on the thing is Prince George at 8 a.m. So what happens between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m.? You just have to go into town and find a hotel. Like, that is the system. There are no sleeper cars on this train. It's just like, go figure it out. It says it tiny print when you book the ticket.
5-hour energy exists, you just need 4 of them.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to play this too. Y'all might be familiar with this. The BBC has a kind of a fun reality show called Race Around the World. Every season, they require their contestants to cross an entire country using the cost of an airfare from one side of the country to the other. So I think the number they used was $750, which is generous. I can get it for less. But they don't have a cell phone. They have a paper map, and they have to rely on the kindness of the people they meet and ask them to use their cell phone or whatever, or hitchhike, and they have little jobs they can do along the way to earn money. Anyway, they start in Stanley Park in Vancouver, and they're supposed to get to Haida Gwaii, so a lot of them just go straight north to Whistler on the bus. And then this is what happens.
I saw a sign there. I see no sign of it. I hate that we've already hit a snag.
And that's it. Honestly, there's a whole season of that. Like, people trying to get across Canada, and then locals telling them, I'll give you a ride because you're not going to like the alternative. And people spending $500 on taxi rides. Absolute wild stuff. So I just wanted to go through some of the options that exist now in BC. I already talked a little bit about the north, and also feel free to jump in, Miles, else if you have thoughts or color commentary on all these random things.
Okay.
But so like I just picked a few destinations that I know are somewhat painful. Nelson is in the far southeast corner of the province. If you want to travel from Nelson to Vancouver, you can fly through Castlegar. You'd have to get to Castlegar somehow. But if you want to take the bus from Nelson, it's on a service called Mountain Man Mike's. That's the name of this bus service. And it runs twice a week all the way to Vancouver, and it costs $180 plus baggage. You have to pay for your baggage. No subsidy.
Can you bring a personal item on?
You can bring a personal item.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I think you can even bring a carry-on size item.
Okay.
But anything beyond that, $20. And so largely much just as remote as a lot of the other places that we were talking about, but zero government intervention, zero government subsidy.
Also, we go back for 10 hours on that.
Yeah, 10 hours. Yeah, a cutaway. Maybe they have a jiggly ramp.
I wonder.
Ramp. Abbotsford, much closer, much shorter trip. It's an hour drive. You have two options, by bus anyway. The first option is the 66, run by BC Transit. It's existed for about a decade now. Very exciting. It's unbelievably popular. And I think that's a downstream of the fact that it's much more affordable to live in Abbotsford, but you just end up with mega commutes. And so the people that are riding this service are often standing on a normal city bus, driving down Highway 1 for over an hour. I've heard stories of it being crammed all the way up to the windshield, like it's a mega crowded. So much so that the BC Transit might actually be making money on the route.
$5 a head.
And it only connects to 2 of the local buses in Abbotsford. The remaining, I think, 16 buses, you have to connect onto one of those buses that it connects to and then connect again.
What's the frequency?
Every half hour in rush, maybe every hour in the middle of the day. And because it has been so popular, they've been trying to boost service, but the last bus is at 9:30 p.m. And so shift workers in Vancouver trying to get back to Abbotsford after 9:30. I've heard stories of the 9:30 bus being so full that they've had to send 2 overloads from Abbotsford to clear the lines in Burnaby and Langley. I got one hand here. I feel like people have feelings about the Fraser Valley Express.
Yeah.
The third way to get to Abbotsford is via the West Coast Express, which goes from downtown Vancouver to
Yes.
Abbotsford.
If you're going to the West Coast.
That's true. That's true. You can't take the West Coast Express to Mission and then the bus down. I'm going with bi-directional options.
It's even less frequent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't call the West.
Go ahead.
So a friend and I did a video late last year. We took via rail from Pacific Central to Mission.
Oh,
And
we have to talk.
Video to your Blue Sky just now.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and we had a couple of options available to us, and this bus was one of them. And just to get from Mission to Abbotsford would have required us to do a 1 kilometer walk. So we ended up just saying, screw it, $120 to take a cab from Mission to Coquitlam Center.
$120.
Not only to Coquitlam, not even.
Yeah, this is from Mission, so we're only like 50 kilometers.
Fun times.
It's like you're walking through, feel like a pariah, as you would
Feel like a pariah.
back roads. I'm like, am I legally allowed to walk
I can
here?
send you videos if you want to feel stupid.
That sounds great, yeah.
Like a beat up Prius or something like that?
It was just a standard cab.
Yeah.
I do see a few more questions. I'm gonna try and burn through these slides and we'll have lots of time to talk after. The other option on this slide is the e-bus or the Rider Express that are intercity coaches going to further places like Kamloops and Kelowna, but they only stop at the airport like Miles experienced. They come nowhere close to town and the tickets start at $45.
Jeez.
Nanaimo to Victoria is the same price for a trip that's about an hour and a half to drive. It doesn't connect to downtown Nanaimo. It goes to the Departure Bay ferry terminal. There's only 5 trips a day in that little thing. And it has a 2.3 rating on Google. And this is really depressing stuff, reading through this. Like, these are 2 cities, Nanaimo and Victoria, that are so tied with lots of destinations in between, you know, Duncan, et cetera. Like, this is a route that should have hourly service, and it would if it was in Metro Vancouver or in Metro Seattle or in Metro New York, like, you know, in any other city.
It would just have like a just normal city bus, I feel like.
Could be,
like,
yeah.
Like an express city bus.
Like, I picture a double-decker Go bus as
Right.
being like the perfect thing for this trip. I will try. I know everyone wants to pop their hands up. I'm going to just speed through this section because we're got kind of 12 minutes left. Kelowna. That e-bus that I mentioned before goes all the way to Kelowna, but it's a $93 trip for this. You know, it takes 5 hours and 40 minutes on the bus. It's a 4-hour drive, but you can fly, and flying is cheaper. And it's actually flying on Yukon's territorial government-owned airline. And so thank you to the people of Yukon for subsidizing our travel.
Actually, look at that too. One personal item. Is that 2 carry-ons?
That is right.
That's,
two checked.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Air North's the best. Yeah, great.
No free cookies on the short flight.
The cookies.
They still haven't given me a reason.
Gotta have the cookies on your card.
And then I got Powell River. Some of you might be familiar with this gauntlet. 5 segments, 4 transfers from BC Transit to BC Ferries to Sunshine Coast Connector, which proudly states on their website, this is a screenshot, we only do 1 trip a day in each direction. And then the Langdale Ferry, and then the 257. It works out to being about $85 to do that whole thing from Powell River, which is not far. And it's 1 trip a day.
Wow.
So let's talk about some good examples, right? Like this is the status quo in BC, but let's talk about Tommy Douglas's creation.
2015?
2017. Yeah. Oh, wait, what are you referring to?
The map, it says 2015 on it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know this lasted this long.
Yeah. So Tommy Douglas was the premier of Saskatchewan, I believe. Yeah. People are clapping for Tommy Douglas, father of Medicare, created a lot of the pieces of the welfare state that we're proud of here in Canada. And one of the things that he helped create was the Saskatchewan Transportation Company, which its mandate was to reach every little corner, every small rural town in that big province. And it ran up until 2017. The picture in the top left, or top right, is a beautiful downtown station in Regina, which I had the pleasure of passing through because my sister lives there. And of course, they do parcel service. They have discounted trips if you're going to the doctor. If you're a Saskatchewan student in the summer when you're off school, you can get a pass to go anywhere in the province for like very little money. And a right-wing government in 2017 cut it. This is the station in Saskatoon and the protests that took place in that year. They did it to save $18 million a year of operating funding out of the provincial budget, which is a rounding error. And I'll point out that they have, almost no tourist traffic. I don't think that's too mean to say on the STC. Whereas if we did have something like this in British Columbia, we can build the bus system and make the tourists pay for it. I think we can end up with a really high. we can have higher rates for tourists. I mean, already
higher rates for transit YouTubers.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. We would make a killing. And then I want to talk about Colorado. So a lot of American states have been building up their intercity bus service in the state. They benefit from some pretty generous federal subsidies for this kind of thing, and I hope those continue. But they seem politically pretty supportable because they are subsidies to rural areas. Like those are people that politicians on either side of the spectrum really want to court. But they just huge plaudits for this system in Colorado. You can see this network. I think they have a fare box recovery ratio. Before COVID, they were it was 60%. So like 60% of the cost of the service was paid for by fares and 40% by government subsidy. And then, that's my last slide. So basically, those are my little pieces of inspiration for as we move forward in this provincial conversation around building this bus network. Hopefully you can see how much promise lies in this and how affordable it can be. We live here in BC in a place with bad intercity transportation, and it's hard to imagine how useful it could be for people like us, that, it could just be easy to hop on a bus and get to Kelowna. But there are a lot of places in North America and in Europe and Asia and pretty much everywhere else around the world where it's just that simple. You just hop on a bus and go to Kelowna. we have that promise in the platform, but the main message so far is that the provincial government really has to keep their spending in check. And so it's going to take pressure to make this promise a reality. And it's also going to take knowledgeable advocates to stay involved and make sure that the service provided is actually good. So, it costs so little for the benefit that it provides to British Columbians, and it brings, it gives rural residents access to the world. So I think it can be a huge vote getter, and all of these things can help kind of build this message for us to the provincial government to follow through on this promise. All it will cost really is just a few buses. And yeah, I'm going to skip a bunch of the stuff I have written on this page, but I'll just zoom down to say that Movement's annual budget is somewhere around $400,000 a year. That's about a fifth of the cost of one bus. And so you've seen what we've been putting out. This is our second kind of lecture-y Q&A type event, and we hope to hold more. And I think ultimately that's a smoke and deal for what we've been able to put out. We're really lean. We get this office space for free. Thank you so much, Vancouver Foundation. We managed to achieve a lot on that little budget. We have like months left of money in the bank. That's kind of the life of a nonprofit. Like, I'm not panicked, but I am preoccupied with fundraising. And so I think you saw where this was going. One of the things that I learned from Riders Alliance in New York is that they suggested we find donors that can give a few $100s per month. That's really the bracket that really sustains them. And if you give $200 a month, you get such a big tax credit that it's actually only $112 a month. So if you are a monthly donor, thank you so much for making things like this happen. Please consider giving a little more. And if you aren't donating monthly yet, please consider starting up a monthly donation at any level. And unlike political contributions, it is totally anonymous. So if you work in the industry, don't worry. We're not going to out you as being actually a huge supporter of advocacy. But yeah, with that, that's going to be the me talking at you portion of the thing. We are at time, so I'll give you like an opportunity to leave if you want. Oh, it's 8:27. We have 3 minutes. But I'll, I'm just going to keep talking about giving me money. But no, so I figure we can do a bunch more questions. Maybe we'll cap it at about another 15 minutes, and then we can finish the rest of the sushi and just mingle around for however long you guys want. How's that sound? Good? Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, great.